Hello and welcome to Out of Spec Overlanding. I'm your host Brandon Kipp. Behind me is a 2021 Audi e-tron Sportback, and today we're going to take it off-road. So now let's quickly talk about tires, which are arguably one of the most important things off-road. So these are 20-inch wheels. They come with the black optic package that this car has, but you can get 19s, which are obviously a little better for off-road, and you can get up to 22s, which I wouldn't even attempt taking off-road. The tread depth is decent, and they're really more of an all-season tire, so not ideal for what we'll be tackling today. But it is what it is. You know, they're the stock tires. We're not going to be changing anything with the car. We're not going to be airing it down, just driving it the way it came from the factory. So let's see how it goes.
So before we get started, let's talk about some of the car's off-road programs. So the two main off-road programs are all-road and off-road, all-road being the less aggressive one and off-road being the more aggressive one. On all-road mode, basically what it does is it just raises the suspension to a higher height, and it tries to blend in the front motor a little more because this is a dual motor setup. And in off-road mode, it basically changes the traction control programming, so it gets a little more aggressive at sending power around a little quicker, and it's actually pretty noticeable too. There are 5 different air suspension heights. When you go into all-road or off-road, it'll go into the second highest height, which is about 8.2 inches of ground clearance. And then if you activate the lift function to go to the 5th height, the highest, it'll actually raise it up an additional 0.6 of an inch to give you 8.8 inches of ground clearance. Now, I usually don't use the lift function when off-roading because I've found that it kind of makes the articulation a little worse. That's just the nature of air suspension. But if you really need it, you can. The main problem with this car's off-road capability is actually the approach angle. The approach angle is pretty bad in the front, and it's like 18 degrees, so on paper it's okay, not that great, but in practice it's really not that great. So we're going to start out in all-road mode on just some of the easy dirt roads, but then as soon as we get into the more challenging stuff, we're going to go into off-road mode. One other little interesting software glitch I found was that when you're in off-road mode and you're going at high speeds, which is really only needed if you're going from one trail to another, the power meter actually doesn't work. So it'll basically say that you're coasting even when you're accelerating, which is kind of odd. But the e-tron is based on the MLB platform, which is basically a combustion engine platform. So you do have little software glitches and also just software from gas cars, which isn't that great in an EV, but you know, they had to adapt it quickly, so I can give them a break for that. One other interesting thing before we get started is that the e-tron actually has the same air suspension as the Q7, because these cars are kind of loosely related. So what that means is that you have active dampers. It'll adjust the damping 200 times a second, which is pretty good. So one of the main tools with off-roading a modern car is cameras, and this car has a lot of them. So you can basically go to your front view, front with trajectory lines, another overhead view, rear, front tires, which are super useful when maneuvering around rocks, and rear tires. And then you have this 3D view, which is incredible. You can basically see all around the entire car. I don't really understand how it can see all the way up to that hillside, but it can, so that's all that matters. So especially if you're alone and you don't have a spotter like I am today, this is going to be super helpful. So that's basically an overview of all the off-road tools we have today, and there are a lot of them. So let's get right into it. So while we're just kind of creeping forward here in this line of cars to get into the off-road park, I wanted to mention that the motor calibration on this car is really, really good. You have 2 induction motors, and induction motors by nature are just a little smoother, I think, than permanent magnet motors. But you can basically just creep forward really, really slowly, and it's super smooth and super precise. It feels great. So situations like what we're about to get into is where the cameras really come in handy, because you can basically, like, I can't see anything out the windshield even if I sit up, but you can see everything right on this screen. So super convenient. We're crossing a double black diamond trail. Don't think we're gonna go on that, but yeah, really, until we get to the harder stuff, this is pretty good. And we are climbing right now, and I can hear a little bit of active cooling. I hear the fans and the AC compressor. See, so with a lot of these ruts, I would probably get high centered right now if it wasn't for the cameras, which allowed me to see where the wheel positions are and where I need to place myself in order to not get stuck in one of those ruts. So the cameras really are a lifesaver, especially with a car like this, where you don't have that much ground clearance. This Jeep is probably like, what? Whoa. Oh boy. Okay, this is nice and slow, nice and slow. Yeah, I know they're like, what the heck is this guy doing? I don't know, but nice and slow. Okay, and go. Yes, we did it. Yeah, approach angle. Yeah, he's like, what is this guy doing? Approach angle is really not good. We almost scraped there. That was a pretty big dip, but still not the best. Ooh. Oh. So as we're kind of zigzagging across this double black diamond trail, have to go nice and slow over all these ruts. Oh, we just scraped the bottom, but that's good because it has an underbody shield essentially, which is actually pretty strong. If you look underneath it and feel it, it's actually really strong. So, you know, with an electric car, there's nothing to worry about, you know, damaging an oil pan or transmission fluid or anything like that. So it's really good to have that protection underneath and to know that you're not really going to damage anything by hitting the bottom of the car. Okay, a little articulation here. Oh yeah, so I'm just easing into the power. We have two wheels off, and in off-road mode, it's really aggressive at essentially brake torque vectoring. So grabbing the brakes on one side and shifting the power to the other, because that's really all this car can do as far as, you know, sending power around. But really, really aggressive in off-road mode. So I like the programming they did with that. So one of the things I'm noticing as we're starting to climb up here is that even though we haven't gotten to the really tricky stuff yet, it's still a steep hill, and the limitation with induction motors just by nature is that they really don't have that much get up and go at really, really low speeds, like under 10, under 15. So what happens is I really have to get into the power, and hold on here, let me okay, seatbelt just locked up after that. You really have to get into the power in order to get up some of these hills, which is obvious, but it's especially noticeable with induction motors. And the thing about it is that when you're like almost at full power for long periods of time, as you are when you're climbing a hill like this, the stator, the part of the motor basically, gets almost red hot. So the car really has to work to cool it down. But the other way to think of it is, wow, it's really impressive that this car can have basically one gear to go from rock crawling to top speed. So, two ways to think of it, but just something to notice. I am hearing some active cooling as we're climbing up this hill. One other little annoying thing about the e-tron is that after 30 seconds the car powers itself off every time. So as I'm setting up these tripods, it's pretty annoying because I have to power it back on, do all that stuff before I can actually get going. The other nice thing about off-road mode is that the car will actually hold you in place just with motor torque. So if you start to roll back to past a certain point, then it'll actually just hold you there. And I think that's better than holding the brakes, because then as soon as you accelerate, it's ready to go. It doesn't have to have that pause where it releases the brakes before you start moving forward. So they really thought of everything with off-road mode, I think. And even though we're just on these easy trails, you can tell that it feels great. So one of the nice things about the cameras, especially right now, is that when you're over ruts like this, you can basically just look at these trajectory lines and know exactly where to place your wheels, because let's face it, we have limited ground clearance here. So if we were to, you know, slide off the side of one of those ruts, we would probably get high centered. So just something to keep in mind. Now, one interesting thing I kind of noticed is that our trip computer doesn't show anything lower than 1 mile per kilowatt hour, because it's been just sitting at 1 mile per kilowatt hour the entire time. So I'd imagine that the actual consumption is much higher than that. So that's one of the things with EV off-roading. Of course you're going to use more energy, but you will with any car. And the benefit of an EV is that when you go back down the mountain, you'll get some regen braking, provided that you're going at some decent speed. This car really doesn't have much regen at low speeds. Oh boy, here we go. See, this is where we need our cameras, because we can go basically right up the side of this hill. Thanks, man. Okay. Wow, they're making their way for the almost $100,000 car. Oh shoot. Let me try to back up here. Let me see where I can go. I can go off to the right. Yeah, so I would say having these cameras is such a big help, because I can go, look, I'm basically about to fall off a cliff and the curb detection is still working. It's telling me that there's a ledge here. I'm pretty close. But yeah, thanks, man. Just don't hit the car, please. Okay, I just got a warning saying brake booster deactivated. Okay, that's nice. This is, you're not gonna find another e-tron up here. It's all just Wranglers, 4Runners, yeah. Okay, so we've made our way onto a blue rated trail, which is, this honestly is pretty rocky, but the actual terrain is not that challenging. You just have to be careful of some of the bigger rocks. And I'll tell you what, having these cameras is so helpful, because right now I can barely see anything, but by having the cameras right here, I can basically see way lower down and I can pick my line a lot better. So I would say, especially in a car where, you know, you don't have that much ground clearance, you don't have that much articulation, definitely don't have a good approach angle, then you really need to have all the help you can get. So one annoying thing is that when I'm getting out to grab these cameras and stuff, every time the car shuts off and you power it back on, it defaults into all road mode, even if you had it in off-road. So you have to switch it every single time. I'm not sure why it does that, but it does. Okay, so kind of an interesting obstacle here. This is basically a kind of like a ledge, and you have to, oh boy, we are struggling for traction. You have to basically position it just right so that the approach angle doesn't get in the way. So just go right on top of this. Yeah, perfect. Okay, ease into it. Okay, can feel it working. Oh yeah, really, really good. Wow, 2 wheels, teeter-tottering. This is really good. Wow, I'm very impressed. Look at that. Wait a minute. Do I know this FJ? I think I know this FJ. Wait a minute. I know that FJ. Let's go. Yeah, so in situations like this, where it's a pretty steep hill, it might not look like much on camera, but this is pretty steep, and you really have to get into the power to get up this. Like, I'm using almost 80% power, and part of that is the limitation with you know, some EVs where they limit the torque off the line, but the main thing is that the induction motors, you know, you just really need to get them going before they actually start to give you power. So I'd say for the next e-tron, probably good to have at least one permanent magnet motor in there. That'll probably help out a lot. Oh boy, this is pretty rutted. I'll tell you what, this is stressful. Oh, this is stressful. Wow, this is... Oh, come on, you can do it. Let me... Wow. Wow. Tell you what, getting up here might not be the easiest, but once you're up here, the views are just incredible. With this hill holder, it doesn't really let you do 2 feet that well, and the brakes really do not hold here. Okay, go. Yes, let's go. Okay, nice and easy. Oh, okay, go. Okay. Okay. Wow, I don't know what to say. I mean, did it just do that? Okay. These little boulders here, no big deal. Well, actually, let's see. Ooh, I feel that one. Ooh, getting the back one up is hard. Okay, good. It's so smooth though. You can really just crawl with this. It's perfect. It's so precise. I can't believe that. I was never expecting it to be... Oh, there we go. Boom. How is it doing this? Okay, up ahead does not look fun, but we're gonna adjust our cameras once again. I can't believe this is happening. Okay, cameras on. If only I had a spotter with me. But the cameras can replace a spotter apparently. Okay, so we're just gonna straddle that. Actually, oh, I don't like the sound of that. What is this trail? How is it doing this? Oh my god. We were chugging the juice like crazy. We used so much energy getting up here. Okay. Okay, go. It's nice and easy. Okay, gonna go around that rock. See, these trajectory lines are so useful right now. Okay. Okay, slipping. Okay, a little rock ledge here. Should be okay, right? Oh yeah. Woo. Wow. Okay. Come on, we can do it. Come on, please. Oh, go. I'm purposely not flooring it, obviously, because momentum is what. Oh, it's really trying. Come on, e-tron, come on. I'm floored. Okay. Everything's okay. Wow. Come on. Ooh, okay. Watch out for the camera. It's actually the least of my worries. Ooh. We just made it to the top of a blue rated trail when there's nothing but Jeeps, FJs, 4Runners, and side-by-sides, and we just made it in an electric SUV that was never designed to do serious off-roading.
So here we are. We made it to the very top of this off-road park. It's pretty amazing to think that a car that can handle really well on back roads can also double as a great off-roader. The most impressive part was that it wasn't even that difficult for the car. Sure, I could feel the traction control working and the computer's trying to figure it out, but it's pretty amazing to think that at the push of a button you can transform this car into a pretty good off-roader. So I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.